Hey guys, so here is your tip of the day in regards to splits. When we're working on splits, for some of us, it's going to look like pelvis to the floor. For a great majority of us, it's not going to look like pelvis to the floor. So blocks are really handy in anything hamstring related. If you don't practice with me in person, I would tell my classes almost every single time have a set of blocks. It can completely change the way you do your shapes. It doesn't necessarily make things easier. So let's assume I've got my right leg forward, and quite commonly, this is what we would do something that looks like this, right? Right leg forward, the knee's relatively straight. For some people, that knee's going to need a little more bend. For those of you that tend to be a bit more on the hypermobile side, it might look like this. I don't actually love this. It's not to say don't train here. I just want you to make sure you can activate, that we're not just in the range of motion, but we're in an active range of motion, especially if we want to create lasting change to our so-called flexibility. So wherever that right leg is, hello, kitty. What will happen is if you're a bit more limited in the hamstring is usually we tuck the tail. We end up rounding our back to compensate for the hamstring. So if you try that now, you're going to find that the hamstring has less sensation to it than if I were to slightly anteriorly tilt my pelvis or lift my sit bones up towards the ceiling. Okay, so there's my neutral spine has a little bit of an anterior tilt sensation to it. So I want the anterior tilt. If the knee needs to bend more to get that, great. Doesn't matter to me. I want my anterior tilt. And then I want to make sure that when I'm practicing the idea of increasing my hamstring flexibility, that I'm working, again, active ranges of motion. So could I activate the front of my thigh a bit? Could I imagine I was pulling or dragging my heel back and feel that this is my area of work and length? He really likes yoga. So, is this active enough? Are you feeling length? You want to feel for the hamstring that you're sensing the stretch in the center of the muscle, not up here where it attaches into my hip, right? Because that spot is where the attachment site is and it's a little more fragile, and not right behind my knee. Right? So I've got the majority of the meat of the muscle, and I can play here. Now, if I actually wanted to be working to splits, we might be here for a long, 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 long. Sorry, the cat knocked over the camera. So I've got the leg up here. If I actually want to work towards splits, what might be more beneficial is to focus on your back leg. So if this leg is relatively straight, you've got an anterior tilt, and you're still not finding that you can come into splits, it's often the back leg that is the problem. So if I walk my back knee, my left knee back more, my right leg is forward. I've got a knee bend in the right leg, and now I'm finding a little more sensation through the top of my left hip. Okay, so I can untuck my toes. I can keep them tucked under whatever tickles your fancy. They both do different things. If I untuck and press the knee up, I get a little bit more active range. If I have my toes tucked under, it gives me some freedom for movement, but I still want to press through the top of the foot a little bit. And then I could hang out here, let the back leg do some work, and then maybe play with the front leg and vice versa. So try that if you want to work on those ranges of motion and see what's more limiting. When we start to come into what might look like a more traditional version of splits, we often tend to splay open the back hip. So I'll tip my weight off to the right and let my back hip open. And so as much as this looks like splits, it's really a lot of accommodating through my pelvis. So I do want to feel like I'm kind of pulling the front of my left hip forward, and I'm finding a bit of pressure in the baby toe edge of my left or my back leg. That right leg is still active. I'm pressing a bit more through the heel, the stretches in the belly of the muscle. I can lean forward, take some load out of my back, and again, blocks under hands is nice. I can sit more upright, shoulders draw down the back side. It becomes more of a back bend. Okay, so try to know where your weight goes and don't allow a ton of compensation, especially if you're going to do this frequently. Again, like everything else, do you know you're doing it? And can we make choices in our body and in our tissues that is intentional versus the default because it's easier and you want the idea of the shape. So again, hope that helps. Let me know if you have any further questions.